5. Here we are again with the top 5. For the last time.
Aw, are you getting emotional, Kaiser?
I can't help it! We've been doing these for more years than there are Dragon Balls.
Well, if it cheers you up any, the top 5 starts off with a classic Dragon Ball arc.
You're right, Mark. That does cheer me up.
The 21st Tenkaichi Budokai is the second arc of the series and the first tournament of the franchise. Hot off the mystical adventure of the Pilaf saga, Goku decides to hunt down the old man who sexually harassed a 16-year-old girl to train under him like his grandpa did before. Upon reaching Kame House, Goku would proceed to meet his lifelong friend and temporary rival Krillin, and the two would begin training with one another.
This arc is also another one on the shorter side, but it hits every story beat exceptionally well. From the fun, character-rich training segments with Krillin and Goku, to the early matches full of comedy and creativity, to the climactic showdown between master and pupil, this arc is packed full of heart, and it would lay a lot of groundwork for the series moving forward.
The early chapters with Goku and Krillin are truly iconic. Their struggle with the Turtle Hermit's unconventional training methods, combined with their conflicting personalities, coupled with Roshi's lecherous nature and Lynch's sneezing gimmick, all make for an amazingly fun read. And the focus on Goku's purity definitely sets him apart from other shonen protagonists of the time. His love for martial arts and battle stem from his passion for self-improvement. And that fire never dies.
And that hunger for personal improvement, and also literally any food within a 10-foot radius, is the major point of conflict in this story. There is no traditional antagonist, but rather Goku's drive as a fighter, and the possibility of that ambition being lost should he come out on top. Which is why Roshi dons a silly wig and loses his glasses in order to keep Goku from becoming number 1 under the heavens.
Goku and Krillin's aspirations for improving themselves are insanely infectious. You want to root for them, watch them continue to improve, and break every record set before them. So when Roshi steps up to keep them in line, there's a great conflict at play. You want to see them come out on top, but you also know that Roshi has a point. That if they get a taste for victory too soon, it's possible that their motivation may take a hit, that they'll become complacent. So despite how much the audience comes to love these two goofballs and wants to see them succeed, you also want to see them fail.
It's nothing incredibly deep, of course, but for a story aimed at kids, it more than does the job of providing an engaging conflict and interesting moral. One that explores the characters of Goku, Roshi, and the concept of martial arts and self-improvement as a whole. But screw the morals, screw the story. Those aren't what people watch Dragon Ball for. How are the fights?
Considering this is still early on in Dragon Ball, it's impressive just how much Toriyama brings to the table here in terms of creativity and variety. Krillin vs. Bacterian is pure gross-out humor, opening the tournament up with one of the best meta jokes of the franchise with Krillin's nose.
I won't lie, watching all of Z before OG Dragon Ball made this joke hit even harder. Over a decade of watching them never address it, only for it to happen here against the perfect opponent, it's priceless.
After that, our good lad Yamcha begins his long, illustrious career of jobbing in his fight with Jackie Chun. It's pointedly funny that Yamcha also recognizes that it's Roshi, at least establishing him as the smartest guy in the room even if he's not the strongest.
After this, we get a match that could have only taken place in the 80s with Nam vs. Ranfan, followed up by Goku vs. Giran, a fun, clever fight that does come with some cheap saves on Goku's part. But the real standout, besides the climax, is Roshi vs. Krillin, which besides including some fantastic action, also has some of the most memorable gags from any of the tournaments.
Goku vs. Namu is much more action-oriented, showcasing some brutal blows and amazing tenacity from both fighters. It also has a feel-good resolution with Roshi providing Namu all he needs to save his poor village. But then, finally, it's the match we've all been waiting for, Goku vs. Jackie Chun. And it's a doozy.
The Kamehameha, Junkin, Drunken Fist, Crazy Fist, the Sleepy Boy technique, the Thunder Shock Surprise, and even a giant monkey! There's no end to how wild and crazy this fight gets, with more twists and turns than we could possibly spend time talking about here. And through it all, the emotional core remains. Roshi's dedication to preserving Goku's passion for the martial arts.
And though the final blow almost ends with a double KO, Jackie stands triumphant, marking Goku's first loss at the Tenkaichi Budokai, but also his first true step towards greatness. This is such an important moment for Goku, giving him both a taste of defeat and a taste of what lies ahead of him. There's always a bigger fish, and if we know anything about Goku, he's never met a fish he couldn't catch.
Later arcs would present greater stakes, including the very universe, but sometimes there's no better emotional leverage than the heart and soul of a character you love. Watching Roshi and Goku battle isn't so satisfying because of the actual choreography and animation, which are quite good for the time, mind you, but instead because of their investment and the meaning behind the fight.
Traditional tournament arcs are always tricky. While they're fantastic at setting up individual battles, building an organic narrative can be a struggle. Luckily, Toriyama caught on quickly on how to balance action, comedy, and story in his tournaments, giving us some of the best in anime. And it all started here.
You know, I'm willing to bet that Toriyama had no idea the kind of conversations he was going to start between fans with Roshi blowing up the moon, considering how utterly obsessed many of them would become with power levels and feats.
Yeah, don't get me started on this fandom's feet fetish.
I don't like that.